mission objective is to make visual confirmation of the new Metal Gear and bring back photographic evidence.
Metal Gear. As I said, I came to take it back. To the Patriots.
It's been a while, brother.
Chapter 2: Infiltrating the Plant. Raiden describes the guard's equipment to Campbell, and he confirms that the mercenary group must be a Gorlukovich man, so they're still in business despite Gorlukovich being dead, as they're just mercenaries. Campbell assumes that they must have made some kind of deal with Dead Cell. Raiden continues into the big shell and notices a very familiar figure going up in the elevator. Raiden informs Campbell, and again, Campbell tells him that this is not a possibility. During this conversation, we meet a new character, the second half to Raiden's support team and possibly the most annoying part of the game, Rosemary. She is Raiden's data analyst and also his girlfriend. After Raiden pulls a hissy fit because of her involvement in the mission, Campbell puts him in his place by telling him that he has his own reasons for selecting her for the mission. According to Campbell, the Shadow Moses incident has taught them that one of the most important parts for the success of a mission is a soldier's will to live. Being Raiden's girlfriend, Campbell figured that she would be good moral support, so she was hired as a cheerleader. After using his real name, Jack, a couple of times,
Jack.
Campbell tells Rosemary to stop calling him Jack and to call him by his codename, Raiden. So in case it wasn't ridiculously obvious, no, we're not actually using Solid Snake anymore. This is a new character. Before resuming his mission, Rosemary asks Raiden a question. This question is one of the main reasons I hate her, because she keeps bringing it up. She asks him if she remembers what tomorrow is. Apparently there's something special about April 30th, but Raiden can't remember it. Rose seems disappointed, but, you know, mission. Anyways, after telling him that she will keep asking till she remembers, because that's the thing to do in the middle of a life or death mission, Raiden continues his mission. He makes it to an elevator where we get a first look at his pretty boy face. He looks kind of familiar. Maybe we made his grandfather in the past game. Who knows? Anyways, as Raiden goes up the elevator, we hear Campbell tell him the name of the terrorist group. Dead Cell, along with Gorlukovich's army, call themselves the Sons of Liberty. According to him, the name of their leader is called Solid Snake, which is why he decided to change Raiden's name. However, Campbell tells Raiden that it can't be the Solid Snake because, as he says, he died on that tanker after he blew it sky high. Ooh, looks like Snake went down as a terrorist. Fake news! Anyways, but wait. Campbell knows Snake. Why is he saying this so matter of fact without even questioning it? Well, the plot thickens. Here we get our first look at the big shell as a whole. It consists of 12 hexagons called struts that go around two different square cores, forming two bigger hexagons called shells. Each strut is connected by a bridge, and the shells are connected by a bridge between the top strut of each shell. Before he continues, Campbell reminds Raiden once again that he must not make contact with SEAL Team 10, and then tells him that he is currently in strut A of the first shell, and that the president was spotted in strut B. As Raiden approaches his destination, he comes across a room littered with corpses and blood. Familiar scene. We are then shown the Alpha Squads of SEAL Team 10 being attacked and destroyed by a flamboyant flamenco dancer with knives. This is Vamp, a member of Dead Cell, and he will be our cringe inducer of this game. Chapter 3: Dead Cell. After all the commotion is over with, Raiden walks in only to get a gander at Vamp, well, sucking a soldier's blood. That is how the Vamp do. That was just unnecessary. As Raiden aims his gun at Vamp, Vamp jumps up and over Raiden faster than he can even move. Then, as Vamp is about to grab Raiden, he's saved by a SEAL Team 10 soldier with a familiar voice.
Where is he?
As the soldier begins searching for Vamp, Vamp surprises him, knocking the weapon out of his hand and holding him by the head, and Raiden just stands there. Vamp takes a whiff of the soldier and seems to recognize the scent, so he puts him down. Finally, Raiden remembers how to shoot a gun, but Vamp dodges all the hits and Raiden runs out of ammo. Vamp then gets a call from another Dead Cell member asking him to meet up with her. During this time, the soldier hands Raiden some ammo, but by the time Raiden picks it up and changes the clip, Vamp is gone. Apparently, he can also speak really fast. When everything calms down, the soldier introduces himself as Iroquois Pliskin, Lieutenant Junior Grade. Then he takes off his mask to reveal that he must be the third clone of Big Boss, because this is totally not Solid Snake. Because Snake's name is David, and he just told us his name is Iroquois Pliskin. So, yeah, not Snake. Raiden begins interrogating him about who he is. Iroquois does not outright say whether or not he's a Navy SEAL, but he does tell him that he arrived through fast rope descent, like the rest of the SEALs. Although Raiden notices a bug crawling off of Iroquois. The same bug which is seen around the area near the water where Raiden came in. This makes Raiden ask him if he has seen him before, but instead of answering, Iroquois asks Raiden if he's with Foxhound, after noticing his attire. When Raiden tells him that he is, Iroquois simply mentions that Foxhound was disbanded, leaving Raiden confused and thickening the plot ever so subtly. Iroquois explains who Vamp is and gives a little bit of information about Dead Cell. Apparently, Dead Cell was created by the previous president, George Sears. Yes, this would be the president that Ocelot was talking to. Apparently, the unit was made as an anti-terrorist organization. They would launch fake terrorist takeovers in government buildings in order to create the ultimate terrorism simulation as training exercises. However, after their original leader died in prison, they started becoming more and more extreme. Now there are only 3 left. When Raiden mentions the rumor that their leader is Solid Snake, Pliskin simply says that Snake died 2 years ago, even mentioning that he's the one who sank the tanker. The possibility of him being alive is none, since his body was positively ID'd and buried. See, not Solid Snake. After finding out that the president is in the connecting bridge of struts B and C, Raiden continues his mission. At this time, Rose thinks it's a good idea to ask Raiden about the 30th of April again, but Raiden still doesn't remember. However, he puts her to good use and asks her to dig up as much information about Solid Snake as she can. Anything indicating to what happened to him after Shadow Moses. After this, soldiers are seen on the BC connecting bridge trying to hit a woman standing in front of the president, who seemed to be knocked out. However, all the bullets seem to literally fly around her no matter what, which, if that was me, this would probably be a good cue to stop shooting, since the president is literally right in front of her and a bullet could just strafe towards him, but it's just me. According to the soldiers, her code name is Fortune. Vamp walks up behind her and takes the president with him into the core of Shell 1. After this, more soldiers arrive and try killing her with a grenade, but it never explodes. She ends this whole charade by charging and shooting her mini railgun at them, destroying the bridge to the core in the process. Raiden reports back to Campbell only to hear that apparently the terrorists possess a Harrier jet.
A Harrier? What is this?
Campbell then goes on to talk about the SEAL team's attack as if it was a success just because it allowed Raiden to infiltrate the big shell. Almost as if the whole thing was a distraction to allow Raiden access into the big shell. Before Raiden commented on this, however, Campbell informs him that C4s have been placed all over the big shell and that he must meet up with an explosives expert who is waiting in strut C. Before leaving, Raiden has a mini mental breakdown and asks Campbell about Dead Cell, recalling how nothing could hit Fortune and how Vamp acted like a vampire. He even commented on how crazy it is that Rose just happens to be part of this mission.
A Harrier? What is this? They couldn't hit her no matter how hard they tried. Vampire, too. It's like being in a nightmare you can't wake up from.
Jack, snap out of it.
And you, Rose, I can't believe you're on this mission. I keep thinking I'll wake up.
But Rose manages to bring him back to reality and calm him down. Chapter 4, Finding the C4s. Raiden heads over to Strut C, where he finds the explosives expert, Peter Stillman. Pliskin walks in just in time to catch Raiden pointing his gun at Stillman like a tryhard. He tells Raiden to calm down and that Peter is not only a bomb disposal guy.
Kid, this is the bomb disposal guy.
Apparently he's some kind of explosives legend, but retired after an accident he was involved in which destroyed a church, killing innocents and injuring his leg. The Navy SEALs brought him out of retirement, however, because the man who set the C4s in the big shell is a member of Dead Cell who he mentored himself, the so-called Fat Man. Apparently, Fat Man was such an explosives prodigy that he built an atomic bomb at the age of 10. Okay, Kojima. Okay. Peter mentions that there was an engineer that came in along with him and the SEALs Team 10, a very familiar looking fellow. Peter tells him that instead of dismantling the bombs, they will be freezing them with a freezing spray. Once the C4 is frozen, it will stay dormant for at least 24 hours. To help them locate the C4s, Peter gives Pliskin and Raiden a gadget that can detect certain gases. Peter knows Fat Man enough to know how much into his own aesthetics he is, and apparently Fat Man always leaves a signature on his own explosives, that being a trace of his cologne. So using this scent and the gadget Peter gave them, Raiden and Pliskin can find the C4s with much more ease. Raiden and Pliskin decide to split off. Pliskin will find the explosives in Shell 2, while Raiden takes care of the ones in Shell 1. During their conversation, Pliskin mentions two phrases which catch Peter's attention.
Who dares, wins. Semper Fi.
This makes Peter suspect that Pliskin is neither SEAL nor a Navy man, as Semper Fi is Marine Corps talk, and Who Dares Win is a motto of the British Special Air Service. On top of that, those headphones he's wearing tend to be reserved for officers of the SEALs, who they tend to keep off of the field so that they can give directions. However, this is as far as his suspicions go. Peter hides in a pantry while Raiden goes and finds the C4 explosives in Shell 1. After finding the first explosive, Raiden reports to Peter. However, Peter is worried because so far all the explosives Pliskin have found are in areas that would not count as key structural points if you wanted to bring down the big shell. This makes him concerned that there is a twist somewhere, but Raiden continues finding more C4s. On his way to one of the C4s, Raiden hears a woman talking over a walkie-talkie with a Russian accent. She mentions seeing a cyborg ninja nearby, complete with a sword. Could it be? This woman is on the floor above Raiden, just up some stairs, and it just happens to be none other than Olga, Colonel Golukovich's daughter. So now she's leading her father's army. However, the person she's talking to is still unknown. Right as she finishes her conversation, Raiden holds her up and asks her if she's part of Dead Cell. She tells him she's not and jumps off of the platform before Raiden can shoot her. While crossing one of the bridges, Raiden gets a call from a distorted voice with no picture, warning him of Claymore mines. The caller simply tells him to call him Deep Throat. Wait, this is starting to sound very familiar.
Snake, be careful. There are Claymore mines around there. Use a mine detector. Who are you? Just call me Deep Throat.
Anyways, when Raiden makes the connection to Deep Throat from Shadow Moses, he has done his homework. The caller then tells him to call him Mr. X instead. Right after ending the conversation, Raiden calls Campbell and reports to him about the call. However, Campbell assures him that it can't possibly be the same Deep Throat as Shadow Moses, as the Deep Throat was Grey Fox and he died completely squished and scraped on the floor by a giant robot leg. Not even Metal Gear Solid bullshit can revive someone from that. Anyways, when Raiden finds the next bomb, he gets a call from Rose to ask him if he remembers the day they met. Seriously, this is why I hate her. They both start to reminisce for a full minute and a half. Long story short, they met in New York, had a friendly argument about something dumb, and trying to prove who's right, they ended up having their first date and they went their separate ways. But then they met again and they just happened to start working in the same place. That's it. Anyways, when Raiden finds the second to last bomb, he reports to Peter. Pliskin calls in and says that he found bombs in the bottom of a strut that sensors could not pick up. So it appears that despite the fact that the other C4s could cause a great deal of damage, they were more of a distraction for bigger bombs. Because Raiden can't get to Shell 2, and Pliskin still has other bombs to dispose of, Peter decides to check out the areas where he suspects there could be more of these invisible bombs himself, revealing that he has been faking his leg injury this whole time ever since the incident at the church. Feeling guilty for all the people he accidentally killed while coming out just fine, he decided to make himself a victim so that people would take pity on him and he could hide in the pity instead of taking responsibility for his fuck up. However, Peter decides that it's time to take responsibility. So Peter goes to inspect strut G and H while Raiden and Pliskin go search for the rest of the bombs. Finally, Raiden finds the last C4 and reports back to Peter. Peter has found the daddy bomb in Shell 2 at the bottom of strut H and suspects that there is probably another one in Shell 1 in the bottom of strut A. Blowing up two struts on different shells at the same time would cause the big shell to go out of balance and collapse under its own weight. And since only strut A and H have water level floor, Peter suspects that there is another bomb in strut A. Chapter 5: The Big Daddy Bomb. Peter informs Raiden that he calibrated a new sensor that gives out auditory signals when close to the bombs and that he left it in the pantry. Once Raiden finds the sensor, he reports to Peter. Jeez, he can't do anything without reporting back to someone. Peter mentions that despite the fact that the detonator on his daddy bomb has not been activated, the sensors are live. Right as he figures out what this means, Pliskin reports that he's freezing the last C4. Peter tries to stop him, but he's too late.
Pliskin! Damn! That one!
Okay, he had plenty of time to stop. Anyways, Pliskin freezes his last C4, and just as Peter suspected, this causes the daddy bombs to become active. This whole scenario was orchestrated so that the daddy bomb would activate when the baby bombs were deactivated. So now both of the daddy bombs in Shell 1 and 2 are active. Raiden hurries over to the bomb in Shell 1 before the timer runs out. However, on his way down the elevator, Peter calls in and informs them that the daddy bomb have a proximimeter trigger and he fell for it. Unfortunately, there are less than 30 seconds left, not enough time to get away. So he uses his last seconds to tell Pliskin to get away from strut H and tells Raiden to use the spray but as far away as possible. Then, he dies. Raiden makes his way to the bottom of strut A and freezes the bomb. When he reports to Campbell, Campbell tells him that despite the damage the explosion caused, no toxins got out of containment. So his next objective is to, again, rescue the president. However, apparently the terrorists have retaliated for the freezing of their bombs and have killed a hostage. They also claim that they will kill a hostage every hour from now on. So Raiden hurries to the president, but on his way back out, he encounters Fortune, who is ready to kill him for the death of her father, whoever that is. Once she sees his face, however, she realizes that Raiden is not the man she's looking for. But fuck it, she attacks anyways, spouting some cliche "please kill me, I'm so damaged because I can't die" bullshit. This commences the second boss fight of the game. Fortune has a pathetic amount of health and stamina, but absolutely nothing hits her. So this boss fight is just about surviving long enough to get to the next cutscene. In the middle of this battle, Campbell calls Raiden to inform him that Fat Man just contacted them directly and told him that he has placed a bomb on the heliport and that he's calling out for Raiden specifically and has started the timer for said bomb. It seems that Fat Man has a different agenda from the rest of Dead Cell. After some time, Vamp comes down the elevator and joins Fortune while Raiden hides behind some crates. He tells Fortune that he can take over from here since Fat Man is starting to become a problem in their plans, and in Vamp's eyes, he has lost his loyalty to Commander Jackson. that being the original leader of Dead Cell, the one who died in the prison after charges of corruption. This also just happens to be Fortune's husband, by the way. Right as Fortune turns around, Raiden attempts to shoot her. Instead, the bullets go around her and hit Vamp in the stomach and head. Yeah, didn't think he'd be a cutscene death, did ya? Well, he's not. As Fortune cries over his dead body, Raiden walks away to the elevator. Once he leaves, Vamp is shown coming back to life because Metal Gear. It's okay, this is explained in the next game through some less bullshitty bullshit. Raiden hurries over all the way to the heliport where he met Olga. There he encounters Fat Man. After a pointless speech, Raiden mentions that if Fat Man destroys the big shell, Dead Cell's demands of $30 million will never be met. Fat Man seemed oblivious to these demands and laughs as he seems to know something Raiden doesn't. According to Fat Man, his only purpose is to become an infamous bomber, one who will have movies and books written about. After this, our first real boss fight begins. The fight is a mixture of putting out bombs and attempting to shoot Fat Man enough to make him fall over on his rollerblades, as thanks to his bomb blast suit, his only vulnerable spot is his head. After Raiden defeats Fat Man falls to the ground and activates a final bomb, the biggest of them all. But he won't tell Raiden where it is. Well, apparently it's right under him. So after freezing the final bomb, the explosions problem is finally done with. Campbell calls him and congratulates Raiden on taking care of this threat. Before he can give Raiden his next instructions, Raiden mentions that Fat Man seemed oblivious of the ransom demands from Dead Cell. However, Campbell brushed it aside as just being the other members keeping him in the dark since Fat Man was a bit nutty. After telling Raiden to check the core of Shell 1 for the president, Raiden receives a call from Pliskin, who said he is alive thanks to help from a friend. When Raiden asks Pliskin about the toxins, Pliskin seems again completely oblivious of what he's talking about. It is as if there's a world of information that only Raiden is aware of. Pliskin confirms that neither the president nor hostages were in Shell 2, so they must be in the core of Shell 1. When Pliskin tells Raiden that he will leave the president to him, Raiden reminds Pliskin that the president is their main objective. However, Pliskin simply says, "Your orders, not mine," and he hangs up on that note.